Remember, coral freaks, a reefing audience with isn't just about the brilliant, knowledgeable guests you'll see up there. It's always been about you, the hardcore reef aquarists, the true coral freaks. Coral freaks is for those who love to learn more, to meet new people, and to actually chat face to face with your reefing pals, not just through a screen. Events like these are certainly good food for the mind. And for one day only, we get to completely breathe in this beautiful hobby together. And that's got to be good for the reefing soul, right? At AAC, we've always tried to bring a social element to reefing, from our early Reef Club visits and our burger stall birthday events to the UK's first ever US-style coral vendor show in collaboration with Reef Dream Steve and Shauno at the back of the room there. So let's make it count. Let's make today one to remember. You're about to enjoy an incredible lineup. Now I'm going to hand over to Paul Longhurst, who'll give a quick update on the Love to Reef Mind Association. Thank you all and enjoy the show.
Morning all. When we started this, I suppose, four years ago, we've run 5 events, and through all your help and support and raising, we've raised just under 15,000 without today's money, so thank you very much. But okay, what do you do with £15,000? So as you know, we support Mind, and we've supported nationally for the last 4 years. In the last couple of years, we've started to get more involved in the local branch, which is West Essex. And just a couple of examples of where it's really made a difference. So more children than ever need support. So we help support people in secondary schools, youngsters that are going through some hard times. So that's one group. And another group which was really under the radar for me, and that's our service men and women. So there's a barracks that's not too far from here, and they don't get the support that they truly deserve. So we help them and help their families. And that comes to today. So you've seen raffle out there, some fantastic prizes from a lot of vendors. So thank you very much to the guys who support year on, year out. So thank you. Dig deep if you can. 100% of the proceeds from the raffle goes to Essex Mine Branch. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to the amazing Stefan, the Yorkshire Reefer, who's going to kick off proceedings. So thank you.
Hi everybody, how's everyone doing? I'm really nervous today, guys, really nervous. This is something I've not done before, but I am incredibly honoured to be here with this amount of guests that have come and supported this. As Paul said, both Pauls said, it's not just about the guests, it's about you guys, and getting an opportunity to ask these guys up here questions that you've got, whether it's just an algae issue or if it's something a little bit more complex about bacteria. So anyway, I'm honoured to be here. We have got some reefing legends that are coming up on the stage with us. People that have changed the hobby, people that are actively changing, and people who I think will, and hopefully you will by the end of the show, change the hobby for us in the future. So, I do have to do my own slides. So, yeah, that's me. I do want to thank the sponsors as well, because as you know, we have got the raffle on and there's been some incredible prizes. We've got Red Sea, Exodus, Tropic Marine Centre, Vitalis, DD, Senai and Ocean Sea Wave, who've all put money in to the raffle. So if, as you've already been reminded in the interval, grab your raffle tickets and don't miss out on the opportunity to win some incredible prizes. So, I do want you to go easy on me today. 5 days ago, it was not only just my birthday, but my son was born. And I had to leave. Yeah. I try not to get emotional as well, because I'm so soft at the minute. I had to leave the family on yesterday to come down, which was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, despite going to Indonesia just a few months ago and leaving my pregnant wife. But it's another, testament to the fact that this hobby is a deep passion of mine. I've always been into animals, and the marine hobby just did something different. And yeah, so if I make any mistakes, please go easy on me today. So, I don't want to take up any more time because we've got a lot to go through. And as somebody who wants to ask questions, I feel a bit selfish because I've got these guys to myself. So I'm trying to ask as many questions that's going to benefit you all. But let's get the guys on stage, yeah? Yeah? Right, okay. So I've got scripts here, but I don't really need them because this guy is a man who needs no introduction. He is the co-founder of Two Little Fishes. He is a co-author of books that literally changed what we do in the hobby. And as much as I've got to admit this, he was the original influencer before it was even a thing. And I think he's now on TikTok doing dances. Everybody, Julian. Hi, Julian.
Very kind of you.
Yes. So honoured to have Julian here, guys. And yeah, grab a seat, Julian. We'll get the rest of the gang up. You know this guy, right? The first time I met Tony, he wanted to fight me. But I'll talk to you about that a bit later in the show. Tony is another author who's done some incredible work on pretty much Instagramming in a book, is what I would say it's like. He's an underwater explorer, diver, and is right now the Middle East's very own Robbie Williams. So let's get you up here and take some of the pressure off me, Tony Vargas. We can't hear you, Tony. There we go. There we go. Nice to see you. Hear me again, are you? Okay, and what would this show be without this next guest? He is a man who was one of the first people, or the first person to spawn Acropora. He's managed to fit us into his busy schedule with, he's up to the Seychelles on Monday, which we're going to learn a little bit more about. Jamie is doing so much for the hobby, so much for the reefs, and it truly is our national treasure. Jamie, do you want to come to the stage? I'm so glad that you're here. So our next guest, this is where the future of reefing comes in, and this next guest is a good friend of mine, Corey Treadwell, who is doing some incredible work with the thing that we all loathe, coral pests. He struck fear into my heart on the Autobahn in Germany just a few weeks ago, and I'm pretty sure he strikes fear into all pests upon the reef. Corey, come on stage. You're not nervous? Thanks, Corey. And this next guest might possibly be the youngest man in the room. Salem, as you all may have seen him, former editor at Reef Builders. Salem has a bachelor's in, I did make some notes and I'm hoping Salem's going to talk to us about this. Bachelor's in molecular biology, biochemistry, and hopefully today we get a little bit more of an understanding as to what that means. Salem, come on, let's get you up here. How you doing?
Thank you.
You good? Thank you for the Carlsberg this morning, Salem. Okay, so another round of applause for this incredible panel. And I just, what I want to do is I'm just going to sit down because there is a gap here that I fell down twice this morning. I don't want to do that again. So coral freaks, you're all here. I'm assuming you're all reefers. But do you think we all agree that we're a bit freaky? Yeah? So, in case you didn't, I actually looked at the Oxford Dictionary, and number 2 is the informal, but very much us, a person who is obsessed with or unusually enthusiastic about a particular activity or interest. You're all freaks. You're all freaks, we're all freaks. And one of the things that I wanted to say today is, I don't know if you guys, I'll stay seated because I really don't want to fall here, but if you guys are at work on a Friday at the office, and I remember this moment clearly, and it happens quite a lot, what are you doing this weekend? Usually I'm clock watching to get to the store before 6 so I can pick up some bits for the tank for the weekend. But you try explaining to someone what you're doing. What is it you do? I've got a water change to do, I've got some Acropora that needs cutting and moving around, or this coral stinging this. And the person shows interest, right? They do, they're like, oh, okay. They get the phone up, they're scrolling through the phone, you know what's coming. They're scrolling through the phone, and then they come out with this. Oh yeah, my dad used to keep tropical fish. And as Connor said yesterday, because I was talking to Connor about this, we had a conversation with someone earlier, the easiest thing to probably do is, and this is a tip I'll share with you, is just say Finding Nemo is pretty much what you do. Just Finding Nemo. That's the easiest way to do it, because no one gets it, and on that moment, and on that particular occasion, I realised that I am just that weird fish guy. There was a guy on the street when I was younger, he was the weird fish guy, That is now me. And again, you know, we're all here today to celebrate our wonderful hobby. And on a serious note, I want to just say thank you again to everyone, because without your support, we wouldn't be doing this. And this is a rare opportunity. I don't think we're ever going to see a panel like this again and have the opportunity to ask questions to people that started this and are probably going to do things in the future that's going to revolutionize the way that we reef. You're supporting a great cause, and I think an applause for yourself, really, for everyone who's made it and put the effort in. Thank you. So, let's get into it. Julian?
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
So, you were last here in 2009.
That's what they tell me. It's been a while.
Julian's so chilled. What was your reason for the visit in 2009?
Well, I don't remember. Probably something to do with corals.
Probably something to do with corals,
yes.
right? Okay.
No, it must have been some convention. Do you have any information on it? Because I am.
I don't. I'm asking you the questions.
Oh my goodness! I tried to pass that one off. You deflected it.
You're here today.
I am here. I'm glad to be
You're here today, and I mean, I think I can speak on behalf of everyone in the room how honoured we are to have Julian here, right? In some way, somehow, you have influenced everybody here. You realise that, right?
Yes, and it's...
Because you're very humble, very humble.
It's really gratifying, you know, to meet everybody, you know, from my colleagues here and all of you hobbyists. It's fantastic because we all have the same passion, you know.
And where did that, I mean, do we all want to know this? Where did that passion begin? You know, was it a case of you went to a fair one day and hooked a duck and won a goldfish? Or, I mean, where did Julian Sprung come from?
I have never hooked a duck.
Paul, we'll have to get that on the schedule for
yes,
this week,
yes.
right?
Well, we'll have to do that. But no, actually, one of my oldest brothers was a hobbyist and showed me his aquariums when I was just 4 years old, and I was hooked by that. That's how I got started. And I lived on an island in Miami Beach. And when I say an island, don't picture, you know, a beach and sand and all of that. It was a residential island. And, but in my neighbors' backyards, there was a lot of the marine life that you're familiar with from the Caribbean. And my brother took me with him, and we got to explore. And even though I was 4 or 5 years old at that time, it wasn't long before I was just going off on my own and catching marine life. So that's how I got started.
Do you remember a specific moment that you were like hooked?
As far as the aquarium hobby? Well, I mean, really, truly, the first time I saw, you know, some of the fish that he had was a spiny boxfish and small angelfish that he collected and seahorses. Yeah, that got me. Although I will say that in 1973, my family took me to the Florida Marine Aquarium Society annual show. This was something we did back then. People would bring in their aquariums to the Museum of Science in Miami and display them. And I vividly remember seeing ribbon eel, blue ribbon eel.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, there were lots of fish that I didn't know what they were at that time that just, you know, completely fascinated me. And
I bet back then it was different as well, because obviously I've got aquariums in my living room with the kids. And like you said, you were similar age to my youngest. Well, now second. But we're in a different world now with dopamine hits in the form of TikTok and YouTube, and you know, I'm trying to get them interested and hooked. But I imagine that was the most colourful thing.
Yeah, and it's the same kind of thing, that dopamine rush that, you know, you see the first time you see a mandarin fish with its fins fluttering like that, or the, you know, dory. I mean, the spectacular pattern on a hepatus tang. It you know, brands your brain.
So did the studying, obviously, you studied and have a degree in zoology,
in
right?
zoology from the University of Florida, correct.
And was that, were you inspired to do that because of your interest?
Yes, yeah. I mean, you know, early on, your parents are like, you know, are you going to be an attorney, a doctor, a lawyer, you know, whatever. One time I remember my mother saying, you know, you should probably, maybe you'd be a good dentist. But I mean, I always was interested in biology, anything with nature, as I'm sure all of you, anybody who loves aquariums, you're a nature lover, you love animals, you love plants, probably most of you. And so, yeah, that, sticks with you and is a motivating factor. But yeah, you graduate high school, what are you going to do? Go to college and, okay, yeah, I'm going to study zoology.
Yeah.
And, picking that major, and I, going to the University of Florida, they didn't actually have a marine biology major at that time, but, if you're going to study marine biology, your undergraduate work, you was going to be a zoology major.
Interestingly, my dad has a degree in zoology, but he said, and I remember it's too hard, he's a gas engineer now.
Too hard.
It's too hard to try and change anything, but he's, I understand obviously what goes into that, and I've read some of the books myself, but which brings me on to books.
Yeah.
If that's all right, because
good, you're really connecting the dots as you go along. I'm appreciating that.
Listen, Julian, I have a confession to make, and I said I wasn't going to do this, but I have to be honest with you all. When I came onto the scene, I heard your name flying around, Julian Sprung, and I'm on YouTube, I'm on TikTok, and I'm on Instagram. Who is this Julian Sprung?
Right.
Then a good friend of mine lent me your book, but very quickly asked for that back. I thought I should have prioritized going through it. And now anyway, I'm pleased to say I do have my very own copy, which I wouldn't like signing before we leave.
Sure, of course.
But I couldn't believe that I didn't know who you was, and I feel terrible, guys. You boo me if you want, I'm being honest. But this, and trust me, if you want to stay silent and you've not read this book or had your head in this book, I can tell you now, as a content creator who makes videos, everything I need is in here. And this was in 1994. 1994, it was $84 in 1994, which was a significant amount of money. But I can tell you now, I would pay, now I know what's in here. If I'd have just put my head into that a little bit earlier, maybe I'd have a few more subscribers. I don't know.
I think you're doing very well.
But this book literally, do you all agree, did change the hobby? Yeah? Yeah? And my question, Julian, is, did you know that was going to do that? Was your intention? What was your intention with the book?
Well, I want to say, first of all, that I'm a co-author on that book.
Yeah, of course,
so
with Charles Delbeck.
With Charles Delbeck. Yep. And we mutually recognized that there was a need for it. There was, we didn't have the distraction of the internet at that time, but there was a little bit, we had CompuServe happening, but nothing like today. But we recognized that, we had a pretty good idea. Even to this day, we still consider ourselves novices, but we had a pretty good handle on the history of the reef aquarium hobby and what the key features were, and that putting it into a book, as much as we knew, into a book was going to be beneficial to help the hobby grow, and that was a goal.
Yeah, you translated the science.
Yeah, and both Charles was a biology teacher in high school.
Okay.
And I don't mean he was a teacher in high school, he was a high school teacher. We both had the background in biology, and we could read the literature. Back in those days, you would actually go to a place called the library. I don't know, do you have them here? Anyway, we went there. There was no Google searches, and we would, you kind of sit on the floor and bring as many journals, looking for publications. You go to the little card catalog and spend the whole day. And each of us did that, and we'd photocopy things that were interesting and share it with each other and by fax. And little by little, we compiled, and we both had a good handle on how to, take this scientific information and translate it into something useful for aquarium hobbyists. And we worked together really well. He's still a very, very good friend. And it was a lot of work, but a work of love to produce that one and then the subsequent books. I would say that it was really Charles's motivation that made it really come through, because we had talked about it for a number of years, but he was really good at setting deadlines and saying, I'm going to do this, you're going to do that, and let's make it happen, and we did.
Yeah.
And there was also the third party was Daniel Ramirez, who was by that time my business partner in Two Little Fishies.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had started Two Little Fishies with a video. Again, the idea of educating people and getting them inspired to jump into the reef aquarium hobby and giving them just the basic facts. So the video was called An Introduction to the Hobby of Reef Keeping, and that's how Two Little Fishies started.
Yeah.
So then Charles and I had already been talking about, we should do something, to do more formally with a book. And Danny is the one who did the graphics, the layout of that book. And he was familiar with publishing. That was his background. He's also a type A personality, still is. And he made sure that both of us got our work done. Those are key things. You can be really smart and know all the stuff, but to really bring something all the way to market takes some additional help.
It sounds like anything in this hobby. It's very much a labour of love.
Yes,
isn't it? It's the work that goes into what we see in our living rooms, or as Julian's just explained, even in this book, is. Yeah. It's enormous amounts of work, right?
Yes, it was.
And you mentioned Two Little Fishies. Mm-hmm. So Julian's thing? Yeah. I have Julian's thing in my hand, guys.
Right.
You know what this is?
Yeah.
So I was given this. Now, I don't want to ask, it looks very similar to some of the stuff that we use in Monday at the hospital with
Correct.
my wife. What was the story behind this, Julian? Was this one of the first products? I mean, no?
Yeah.
Because this is I don't know if have you anyone seen this before? Yeah? Yeah? A bit about that, because it's a really interesting contraption.
Yes, it's an interesting contraption here, yeah. So that goes back, that's just a little bit of the history. It goes back to my brother. His name is Elliot, who I'd mentioned. And one of the things Elliot had for maintaining his fish aquariums was basically a two-part device. It was a rigid piece of airline pipe connected to a soft, flexible piece of airline pipe. And he would put the soft piece in his mouth and the rigid piece, and he would suck up a little, brine shrimp or fish food and blow it into the aquarium. If you do that, for months, eventually you get yucky things in both pieces. And so, the idea was nice that you could insert that in the aquarium and directly target feed, whether it was an anemone or a fish. And that stuck in my head, and I thought, I think I can improve on that. And a lot of iterations and stuff, and it ended up being this thing where instead of sticking in your mouth, it uses a syringe with the little finger pieces here where you stick your fingers in, you have complete control over it, and that's a piston that allows you to control it. Then, of course, the issue of when you're moving it, is the hose going to leak? And I came up with a little valve to insert there and a pipette tip. And it's all of these little parts. And then, of course, what do you call it? Do you call it a target feeder? That's really boring. Then, I thought about how would I package it? And of course, if it was something made in China, it would be on a piece of cardboard with a blister, and it would be there. And I thought, gee, that's boring. I'm not going to do that. And I looked at the syringe, and I thought, gee, that's pretty phallic looking, that little device there. Yeah. And so I'm going to call it Julian's thing, and people will laugh about that. You're going to have Julian's thing in your hand. So
it's been in my hand all morning.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've enjoyed in the whole process of developing products and marketing them with Two Little Fishies is to come up with a strategy and use humor in it.
Yeah.
So instead of having the clear blister packing, it went into this graphic thing with with the suggestion of a sexual suggestion on it. And I thought, is that going to work? And initially, it didn't really work. Well, no, people just didn't get it. They didn't know what it was, and we were assembling them so that people could see the finished product. But after maybe a year and a half or so, it caught on, and people got it, and they were laughing at it. We did an advertising campaign with, Julian's thing, and it's extendable, all of these things. So it worked, and it's Still out there today.
I mean, I did confess about my not knowing who he was, but actually, when I first got into the hobby, one of the first things I picked up was with the algae magnet.
Yeah, nanomag. Sure.
Just because it didn't fall off when you took it out, it just stayed on the outside tank.
Super
Really
strong magnet. Yeah, that aspect of the aquarium keeping is a really old one, using magnets to, clean the glass. And I thought, well, if I'm going to get into that space, let me do something that nobody else has done. And I wanted to make a really small one. And, something you haven't mentioned, one of the things that I'm known for was setting up really small aquarium. Everybody would talk about your 15-gallon Reef aquarium, which, was sacrilege at the time. People on the one hand were excited about what I showed you could do, growing all of these corals in such a small space. And they would invite me to talk about it and demonstrate, how do you do this nano aquarium? And then privately, after the talk, they would say, we think that's really cool, but you shouldn't really be promoting this because it's irresponsible. People are going to put too many fish in there and they're going to kill them and blah, blah. It was really a dichotomy.
When was that?
That would have been in the 1990s at some point.
So you was, because
I was being invited to talk about it, being applauded, and then privately being told, don't do this. And then the whole industry started making nano aquariums. All of a sudden it was like, yeah, you know what? This isn't so hard.
Yeah, it's very popular with the hipsters.
Correct. So that also was gratifying. And I didn't go back and say, see, it just, it was kind of like all of a sudden people woke up and said, this is kind of a cool idea, because there was at that initial phase kind of a gospel that, gee, if you're going to start a marine aquarium, there's a minimum size and it's got to be, really big, which meant you had to have a big investment of money, and not everybody could do that. So, that was the message I was trying to say. Hey, start small. Don't put the big fish in the tiny tank. Start, narrow your focus to do the things that are appropriate. And now I'm really gratified to see people making these little bitty things. And sure, they're not putting big fish in these little bitty things.
PNW, I think
PNW.
it's called. Yeah,
and I have to say, I was completely gobsmacked when I saw the little PNW that is mobile. There's a guy who...
We saw him me and Paul were on Orlando with...
He wears it around his neck, and he takes it on the plane with him.
You know why he does that? Because he's got no home. He's a truck driver, and he wants to keep a reef tank. And it's tiny, isn't it? If you've not seen it,
it's really tiny, and there are fish in it, and there are corals, and he does not just put the thing together right before the show. It's actually an aquarium that's being maintained. They're growing, the fish are fine. I was blown away the first time I saw it, and I've seen it subsequently at different shows, and it draws a lot of attention. I think it's absolutely wonderful, and it's an extension of what I was trying to promote, but really doing that well.
Yeah.
It could be done badly, but it's not. It's being done really well.
And I think the hobby probably needed that back then. And we've got it now. Nanos are in abundance now, but
absolutely.
It's great for people who might think, should we get a fish tank for the kids or whatever? And you can go out and start with clownfish and anemones and build up with,
Yes. So, I want to say that the gospel, the idea of starting with as big an aquarium as you can afford, makes sense, because the larger the tank, you have some room for error, right? But if you focus your scope and, don't try to keep everything in a small space, you can really guarantee success, especially if you have Paul guiding you, right? A good shop, Paul and Angela, showing you what they do. They have some smaller exhibits there as well. Choosing the right creatures, the right corals, the right fishes, and it helps to have an aquarium society and having veteran aquarists give you advice. Starting at it as a newbie, you can make mistakes. So if you have the background, the advice, your chances of success are very high. And then, as you develop your passion for the hobby, you can expand and do larger and larger systems as the corals outgrow your smaller ones.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you obviously the corals that you keep primarily you've got the main the video that you sent was it's got a lot of soft corals. Are they? Do you favour the soft corals over the?
I love all corals, you know, and I have many tanks. So you saw the main larger aquarium that I have at home, but I have a bunch of tanks at work, and you know.
Do you not have a favourite?
And a favorite what?
Coral, yeah, species or particular coral even.
You know, it's really hard. I love all corals. So the feeling that I get about all of them, whether they're brown or super colorful, is similar. But if I had to, you know, really pick one, the genus Cinerina, you know, which has 3 genera all mashed together. Eventually, that'll all be worked out. And so, like Acanthophilia, Cinerina, Endophilia, that group, which has become popular in the aquarium hobby over the past 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, we can't get them.
Yeah, they're truly over-collected, but...
That's the problem, isn't it, though? You look at what we keep in our aquariums, it's
Yeah.
that could be 40 years old.
Yes.
One
yeah.
diver could go out and in one dive have
Right.
taken hundreds of years off the reef. So it absolutely makes sense. It's just a shame that they are, again, probably my favourite as well.
The work that Jamie is doing you know, has made it possible for these to be spawned in captivity. So, you know...
I suppose, but Jamie, it's Corey, Tony, Salem. Tony's book, big influence for you guys as well? Yeah?
Yes.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yep.
And there's a lot of the work that you're doing, Julian did speak about it back in '94 when this was published, right?
Yes, that's right.
And these guys are, like I said, the future potentially of how we. I was actually speaking to Paul this morning about how we think the hobby's going to change in the future, what that looks like, and I think we said something along the lines of foods that we feed the aquarium.
Yeah. I think the next sort of big movement of it will be, particularly if you look at the panel where, you know, you've got some manufacturing going on, you've got a guy that's spawning corals, you're studying corals scientifically, and of course Salem as well with his back, and Corey, they're actually right here on the panel now, we're looking at potentially new engineered foods that actually we definitely know scientifically are feeding these corals. So at the moment, most of it's been guesswork over the last 30, 40 years. We're just guessing on particulate sizing. And do corals actually eat phytoplankton? I don't believe they do. Maybe a dead coral. So there's all sorts of things I think that will come out in the future. But
I suppose testing as well. That hopefully we can test for things that we can't currently test for in the aquarium, because it's a very complex thing to do, is come up with these new ideas and know that it's backed by science. Because it is a science project. We're part-time scientists as well, in case you didn't realise.
Right.
Do you think there's another book coming?
Well, you know, each time we came out with a book, 1, 2, and 3, people, practically as soon as they came out, oh, is there another one coming? You know, and that led to the, it's sort of the USA Today and, you know, CNN process of, you know, the continual news cycle. It's amusing. But to answer your question, it's been a long time. The volume 3 came out in 2005, and it's still a very relevant book. But there's quite a bit of new technology that was not covered in that book, and new ideas. So Charles and I have been talking. We don't have a date. We haven't actually broken ground on it. But we have as a concept to take the essential bits that are in the Reef Aquarium Volume 3 and then add to it the new technology. And then, you know, we can even use our imaginations and talk about things that we'd like to see that we imagine will be part of the future. So I think we're both in agreement that that's a book we'd like to do. But of course, we have our day-to-day work.
Of course, yeah.
So when we have that freedom to work on it, I could see a fourth one happening, but I don't have a date on it yet, so don't...
We'll take it as a yes. Yeah. And obviously now, that you just said new technologies and things, we're in 2025.
Yeah.
What excites you, Julian Sprung, in 2025? Is it new coral species? I've got an image of the Chewbacca coral, I think they called it, that was recently discovered. Does that excite you still when things are discovered?
It always excites me, and you know, people do discover just in nature new corals. The aquarium hobbyists may develop new strains, sometimes with fragging or grafting, whatnot. I do think that there's some possibility, you know, we can just talk about it with the work that Jamie is doing. Hybridization with Acropora happens in nature. Being able to do controlled breeding in aquariums could lead to designer corals. And, you know, even in a scientific setting, you know, there's certainly an active search for corals that are hardier, that would be useful for reef restoration work. But, you know, you have to look at the aquarium hobby as sort of a separate little bubble, that there's work that could be done for the ornamental purpose of having something interesting, beautiful, and hardy for aquariums. And there's a lot that could be done. For example, you know, on the one hand, it's maybe looked at badly, but you look at glowfish and see those kinds of, what that does in making a big push in the aquarium hobby. Corals are naturally glow corals under fluorescent lights, but there could be work done manipulating those colors to produce interesting strains. The technology exists to do that, so it's a matter of time before you see it. You know, that will always be a controversial subject, as it is even with the glowfish, but I could see that happening. I know that when designer clownfish were first being introduced, there was, I think, probably a greater than 50% poo-pooing. People were like, oh, we shouldn't be doing that. And as time went on, it caught on. And I'm glad to see that, because I wasn't on the poo-pooing side. I thought, wow, this is really great.
So you support that? Yeah,
yeah, I do.
Do you like long fins?
I don't. But I do like, you know, things like a Wyoming white or whatever. You know, they're, you know, natural mutations that crop up, and, you know, being able to reproduce that and make something that gets people interested in the hobby, I think, is a good thing. So yeah, the long fins, I don't see the value
I'm undecided
of it.
myself.
Yeah. You know, I mean, even Matt Wittenrich had a longfin angelfish came up in his spawns. Yeah, it happened. So, you know, the freshwater hobby discovered these things long time ago, so it's not a surprise that we're going to see it in the saltwater hobby. I don't know, longfin corals, it could happen. I mean, we see
longfin corals.
You know, bounce mushroom anemones and things like that. It's intriguing, and it generates interest.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's the goal for everyone on the stage, is to get more people aware and interested in the hobby, to have as many people keeping reef tanks as dogs or cats, hopefully, is the goal, because we get more. Because,
you know, as more and more people keep them and we make more and more discoveries, that has a back benefit, because all the work that's done now with coral restoration, where there's bleaching events, mass die-off of corals, and the idea of transplanting corals that are grown either upland or in mariculture, all of that work rests on the foundation of you guys, of the aquarium hobby. It really wouldn't have happened without the experience of aquarium hobbyists growing corals, because there was a very firm belief that corals could not be grown in captivity. And then, heck, if they can be grown, can they be spawned in captivity? You know, that's a huge leap. And now we know the answer is yes, yes, yes. And then using those techniques to benefit the natural coral reefs is such a huge win. So the experience we have that's motivated by interest is something that I've always wanted to support. And, you know, it's understandable. Sometimes people, you know, get upset about the idea of genetic modification or, you know, cloning, no, but hybridization. But understand that, you know, reproduction is a natural process, and hybridization happens.
That might be what is needed to save the reefs. As the work Jamie's doing with his team.
Yes.
You know, so
with suitable controls, because you know the aquarium hobby, as it is with mixes of corals from all different regions, is not a refugium for transplanting corals in nature. You know, there's too much risk of pathogens, and it's a mess. But the technology, the ideas, and the inspiration, what we do, lends itself to work that universities can do to carefully protect natural reefs.
So there's an element of excitement, uncertainty of
Yes.
what's coming, and I mean, you've just next to you is another gentleman, Tony, Robbie.
Yeah.
You guys have spent a lot of time together as well. I think
Yes.
Tony referred to you guys as the Reefing Mafia last year, right? And Tony, I just want to bring a little bit of attention to you. Obviously, Tony, you've also done the Coral Reef Aquarium books here, which, as I said earlier, is it fair to say, Tony, you've pretty much did Instagram in the book form, right?
Absolutely.
Capturing aquariums, breaking down, or reef to reef forums, whatever you want to call it. Tony's book is a very different flavour to Julian's, but very similar, right?
Same publisher.
Same publisher. I was just going to get on to stop taking my questions. I'm getting to that. Have you guys read this book? Anyone? Yeah. So, question for Tony: was Julian an influence to you for the books?
In all actuality, you know, Julian has been an inspiration to all of us, and seeing his books actually. In the Northeast, where I reside in New York, we had what was called the Coral Mafia, or the Reefing Mafia.
So who was that, Tony? It was yourself?
It was basically
Collector?
Joe Aiello, Greg Scheimer, myself, and a few others. Randy, Terry.
Yeah.
We were all actually, and there was only one shop in all of the United States that was bringing in acroporas.
One shop?
One shop, and he was the only one licensed to bring in acropora or SPS corals into the country. Only one. So he was a 2-hour drive for us.
East Stroudsburg.
East Stroudsburg, Ed. And
how cool is this, just hearing this story?
yeah, and so we would drive out there, but what propelled everything was the fact that Greg Scheimer and I were like one of these guys that were always sharing the information with other hobbyists. You know, because when we were doing it, there were a lot of secrets, and nobody wanted to share the recipe. Everyone wanted to have a successful reef aquarium and not tell everyone how to get it done. But Greg Scheimer and I were the ones that would actually spread the information out. We would do talks on how to frag a coral, how to keep a coral, a specific coral, how to keep the reef fish, how to cycle a tank. And all this information wasn't there. And then we met Julian. Now, Julian's introduction to me was the Aquarium Society had a tour going because Julian and Charles were going to speak at the aquarium. And they said, well, there's 3 homes that we want to take Julian and Charles to. So one was to Terry Siegel, one was to myself, and then the other one was Greg Scheimer. And I remember I was living in an apartment at the time, and I had a 150-gallon tank, all SPS corals, and Julian and Charles walking through the door, and they were like, and when I saw the facial expression, I said, I got him. And we were able to be inspired by Julian and Charles because at that point in time, they were just formulating the book.
Yeah.
And, you know, so Julian is like, can I take photos? Can I share my photos in the book? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, of course, you know, I'm privileged. And then we found out that the book was coming out. And Terry was the one that organized to order the books for the group. So the Reefing Mafia of the Northeast got the book. The next thing I know is the society that took Julian and Charles on the tour, now they're asking Greg Scheimer and I, why don't you guys write a book? You have a lot of knowledge, you have a lot of information. Why don't you guys write a book? So Greg Scheimer and I decided, well, we could be the Charles Delbeck and Julian Sprung of, making it a little more, less technical and more to the masses in making it as simple as possible, right? Because one thing about Julian's book and Charles is it can be technical. Even though they dumbed it down a little bit compared to science journals, but it can be. So we can write a book and get you there faster without you having to read all of this.
Yeah, but Tony, at the back, you guys break down the jargon even more. So you go to the back and you've got like ultraviolet light, an explanation as to what that is. All the words that we might not understand, you can just flick to the back and go. So it's got the building blocks to understand everything, right? But still, like you say, at that time when it's all quite new.
Yeah, and some people were like, okay, they got the book and they were like, I read it, but I don't get it. So we were thinking, okay, we could do the book. But then Greg Scheimer passed away, and I pinned it. And then I kept being asked after his passing, hey, Tony, why don't you write the book? Why don't you write the book? So I did a pro forma of one book.
Yeah.
And I presented it actually to Julian and to another guy, what was his name? James?
Oh, James Lawrence, yeah.
James Lawrence. Mm-hmm. So James Lawrence said to me, yeah, just give me the pictures, give me the text, and I'll do the book. And so then I showed it to Julian, and Julian goes, it's your book, you do whatever you want. I said, ooh, I like that. Meanwhile, under his tutelage, right? And he allowed me to achieve one of my other dreams of putting a book together, and I thank him dearly for taking the risk, because to be honest, they put up all the money, and he's taking a risk on publishing a book that may fail, right? And I appreciate him taking the leap of faith. And what did we wind up doing? We sold the book out.
Yeah.
And now the book is on, to buy a brand new one on Amazon is $300. And I paid up to $125 for my own book.
There's loads of them in my library.
Huh?
At home in Leeds, there's a library that's got all your books in.
Yeah.
No, I'd be honest. I asked begged Paul before the show. I said, I need you to get me a copy of it, because I can't. Like you said, £300 for a book. I just can't do it. Yeah. Luckily, we managed to get it for a little bit better price than that, I think. But again, another book that is just so ahead of it. It feels to me like from the digital era of videos, so ahead of its time for what you did. Yeah. And I mean, that's what you did. But I want to kind of get into a bit about what you're doing now, because I'm following you on Instagram, and you're always in a different location. But a lot of it's in the Middle East, right, where you are at the minute? Yeah.
Yes, I live in the Middle East. I live in most people's bucket place called Dubai. So a lot of people would love to go to Dubai, and I actually live there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've traveled to Germany, Indonesia, America. I've never been to the Middle East. What is the scene like in the Middle East?
Well, I mean, there's obviously a lot of wealth, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people invest in Dubai because Dubai has pretty much an open door policy. So you want to set up shop in Dubai, they don't make it very difficult for you to set up shop there. So there's all these really highfalutin companies, and they're always building everything brand new. So, and it serves the purpose, because it's a country that wants to stay up with technology. So, and they're fairly brand new. So all the buildings are new, the streets are new, all the cars on the road are new.
Is it right, Tony, they have air conditioning on the traffic lights? Or is that a myth?
No. Okay, yeah. So for most of you guys, understand that it can get to 55 Celsius. In the summer, 55 Celsius. By the time you cross the street to the other block, you're dripping in sweat. So in certain locations where it gets ultra hot, they have venting systems on like traffic lights and side. In Qatar, they have sidewalks that are air conditioned. So it may be 50 outside, but in that span of street, it's 32. So it's pretty.
So what are you seeing out there? As again back to the seat. So how are the systems, or what is the trend in the Middle East that you're seeing with people?
Well, there are some really tenacious reef hobbyists. There are. One of the challenges that we face is that a lot of the projects that we do, we sign what's called NOCs, which is non-disclosure agreements, that we can't talk about the aquarium. I mean, we built aquariums in palaces, we build aquariums in luxury homes, and they take our phones away. When you walk onto the premise, they take the phones away so you can't record, you can't take pictures, nothing. And you go and build a big, giant, beautiful aquarium. And there's some really nice ones. There's some hobbyists who are really successful keeping SPS corals, big, beautiful tanks, and they don't want to be seen on video, and they don't want the public to know. So I'm trying to arrange one particular individual, and I told him, okay, this is what we'll do. We'll just shoot the tank, use an AI voice of you, and an AI image, and we portray it as that. And
an AI image of the tank? An AI image of him?
Of him.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So an AI image of him, but his actual tank, because he doesn't want his voice, and he doesn't want his image appearing in it, and he doesn't want the image of the rest of the room to appear in it. So you could imagine. But meanwhile, there are others. There's two in particular. One is an Emirati who is really, and you can follow him on Instagram. He's Naif, and he has an amazing reef tank. He keeps it with, he's got a certain protocol on how he keeps his reef tank, but it's beautiful and colorful and very, very nice. And then there's another one that I just recently visited in Kuwait. And I never thought I would see a really nice reef tank in Kuwait. And sure enough, I go to this guy's house, and it was better than on Instagram. And I would have to say his tank is probably the nicest tank out there, aside from Mara. Mara is another, but that's a whole
well, let's not get onto that subject, Tony.
That's another story.
Tony wanted to fight me, as I said earlier, and should we tell him?
Yeah, sure, why not? Let's tell everyone what happened.
It was last year. I turned up to the Green Man with my cameras and stuff, and then I got a heads up from Paul or Joe or someone. Oh, Tony's here. He's really pissed off. He's really. I said, why? What's happened? Anyway, I didn't know. I don't know. It just seems like he doesn't want to talk. Anyway, we sat down, and then I saw Tony Vargas walking towards. I know. Oh God, here he comes. And Tony, you can take the lead here. You can tell the rest.
Well, okay. So there's a backstory, and here's what happened. So I was working with Mara for 3 months on the visit, what we were going to do, how we were going to do it, how we're going to get it accomplished. Corey goes and destroys the whole thing.
Well, I was at White Corals, and I didn't actually want to go see a tank at the time. I was like, I'm tired.
So now I'm arranging all of this, right? And Mara and I are communicating like almost daily. We're communicating on what's going to happen. Then one day I open Instagram, and Funny Man over here is video shooting her tank, and I'm like, what? So he beat me to the punch. But so then I said to Corey, who the hell is Yorkshire Reef? And he goes, well, I took him over there, and I said, well, tell Yorkshire Reef I'm going to kick his ass. And he goes, but why? And I said, because I had planned to do this, and I want to be the first one to do it, and he beat me to the punch.
Yeah.
So I said, just warn him. When I see him, I'm going to kick his ass. So sure enough, we started spreading the word. But you know what's...
But actually, no, it was different, wasn't it, when we actually...
Oh, no. Well, you know...
It's a bromance now, I think.
Yeah, we met in the dining hall at the...
The pub, the Green Man, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And he was at a table, and they said to me, "That's him." And I said, "Yeah, I recognize his face." So I go and I sit down next to him, and I said, "You know, I want to kick your ass, right?" And he goes, "But why?" And I said, "Because you beat me to Mara." And I wanted to be the first one to publish Mara. And I said, "But you know what? I got the good part. Because Mara did the interview with me, and she spoke on video, and she avoided being on the camera with you."
Yeah, we did since shoot that, and it has had more views, but I won't get into it.
So,
no, I mean, you know, and honestly, don't be. And just so you all know, don't be fooled by Tony's, you know, charm. He also tried to fight another person. Do you want to tell the story about that? He's just an aggressive man.
yeah, well, no, okay. So what happened was, and I think Julian, you were in this as well. At one time, several years ago.
Julian's just as bad.
Yeah, Julian loves drama. He loves drama. Everywhere he goes, there's drama. He's always the last one to get food, and then he's upset because the food hasn't come. When we go to restaurants, you're the last one to eat.
How do I inspire that to happen?
Well, I
I
don't know. There's something about you. So there was a forum at one point with all the advanced hobbyists. I can't remember the name of the forum.
CompuServe?
Like a bit like,
No, it wasn't CompuServe. It was a private one
which one?
that. Reef Central? No. It wasn't Reef Central. It wasn't any
But
of
something
those.
like that, right?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was similar to that, but it was just private to the Advanced Hobbyists of America.
Okay.
And you were on it, I was on it, Jake was on it, Greg Scheinman was on it.
Right.
And I can't remember the name of it.
Well, Reef Keepers, maybe?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was the one...
Advanced Reef Keepers. Or
No,
something.
just Reef Keepers. RK something. It was the guy in Ohio who created it.
No, the guy in New York was the one that created it.
Oh.
Randy Donowitz.
Okay.
Anyway.
Anyway.
So there's this group of hobbyists.
We have all these private little chat things.
Right. So they decided, instead of being on CompuServe and all the other forums, let's set up just a group of us or a group of advanced hobbyists that all know one another. And you would only be able to go onto this group if you were invited. Then they would do the research on you to see if you qualify to be on it.
Yes.
Right? I remember asking 2 people to join that I would love to see them on the forum. And I got written back, if you ever bring that name up again, we'll remove you. And I was like, whoa, this is getting tough. Anyway, so I post something about efflutenaria. And Jake posts something on the opposite of efflutenaria.
Jake Adams.
Jake Adams.
Hey, how many people knew that there was an opposite to efflutenaria?
So, okay, but how many people know Jake Adams?
Of course, yes.
Okay. So, Jake Adams, I knew about him. He lives in Colorado. I lived in New York, blah, blah, blah. But we really never communicated. So he came on, and I said, well, maybe you need to learn how to read, because if you go to Soft Coral's Soft Coral, there was a book just on soft corals. I said, you see that the characteristics of this animal reflects, but since you don't know how to read, maybe I can guide you on it.
So sassy.
And that's when it all started. Well, you need to get educated, and you need to this, and we're going back and forth. And the moderators were intervening. You 2 guys, relax, take it easy, slow down, But I kind of knew in the way we were doing it that it was just to stimulate attention, right? So now everybody's talking about, now Magna comes, and everybody's talking about, okay, Jake and Tony are gonna meet for the first time. What's gonna happen? Because I said to him, wait till I see you at Magna. He goes, wait till I see you first. So sure enough, there's a long corridor, like from here to the outside wall. And I hear from the whole opposite, well, as I'm walking there, dude, Jake Adams is looking for you. And I said, well, if you see Jake, tell him I'm looking for him. So sure enough, I hear from the other side, and I don't see him. And I hear, Vargas! And I go, Adams! And we're shouting each other's name as we're getting close, and people are like, oh no, what's gonna happen here? And then all we did was, when we met in the center, chest bump and say, how you doing? And, and we started a relationship that way. We really didn't know each other, and ours felt very similar, because even though I threatened to kick his ass, which, by the way, I could take him. Just so you know, I could take him.
He's never been to Yorkshire.
Are we going to place bets?
Yeah, well, maybe at the Green Man tonight, guys, after we've gone through.
So we
ended up having steak, wine.
Yeah, we sat down, had wine, steak.
I got the full Tony Vargas experience, which is...
Oh, no.
Something. Yeah, I know. It was something. And I went back and told my wife I sat down and had dinner with a man called Tony Vargas. And ever since, we've stayed in touch, and
yes.
I've been following what you've been doing, likewise. And it's, again, another example of why I love this hobby, the connection. All of us being here today and hearing these stories.
And just as a side note, I want everyone out there to realize one very important factor. I told Paul a year and a half ago, I said, Paul, look into this kid, Yorkshire Reefer. He is going to be phenomenal for you guys in the UK, because you guys in the UK are pretty much hitting. You're very reserved, and that's cool. However, he is going to bring you guys to the next level, because he's out there, he's young, he's, aggressive, he's tenacious. And I said, this is the kid that's going to bring the UK out of hibernation and put you guys on the planet, put you on the map.
Wow.
And I honestly feel that this guy right here is the best thing that happened to your country in a long time in regards to Reef.
Careful.
Thank you for being part of it.
I told you I'm... Thank you, man. I did say I was feeling soft and vulnerable after the week I've had, Tony, so you get me crying. I'm not that tough. But I really appreciate it, Tony. And, going back to the books a little bit, because we have, obviously, we're on a tight schedule today, and I do want to get a couple of bits out of the way for both of you as well. But there's the 2 books you've done. Are we going to see a 3rd book, Tony?
Okay, a 3rd book. How many of you guys out there want to see a 3rd book? How many?
Be a bit more American, guys. Yeah. Yeah!
Okay. I make you this promise, but I want you to help me. I have my YouTube channel. I want to grow my YouTube channel. You guys help me grow my YouTube channel, and I will produce a volume 3. And Julian will be there to support me. But you guys help me with the YouTube channel, and we will do it.
Julian didn't know about that.
Don't worry about it. I'll take him out to dinner.
So I'll take that as a yes.
Well, help me with my YouTube channel, bring my numbers up, share, subscribe, and I promise you I will do a volume 3. And bear in mind that volume 3 has been cooking in this brain for the last 2 years. I know exactly what I'm going to do, which will be unique from all the other books.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Similar theme though? Tony?
No.
No?
No.
Something completely new?
Well, still the tanks from around the world will be in it. And there'll be some identification and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do something that will change the look of the book, change some of the topics that we're discussing, deep dive on some other ones. Because I don't know, have any of you guys seen my latest YouTube video on protein skimmers? Anyone? Okay. If you notice, I'm doing deep dives. How many people have even talked about surfactants on any videos that you've seen? Nobody, right? Why? Because there's a lot of information that we can get, and I know how to simplify it and bring it to you guys so that way you're 100% more knowledgeable in what you need to do to achieve this success in our industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know what I'm going to do with
So there'll probably be a fight again on the cards for us because I'm trying to do exactly the same thing.
Absolutely.
In Dubai.
Yeah, baby.
Let's go. Tony obviously travelled a lot. The books, we've covered the books and stuff, but I know that you've been visiting aquariums all over the world. Is there any particular aquarium that stands out to you?
You know, when it comes to that, it's very subjective because when you look at an aquarium, there are many different aspects, right? You're talking about a small one, a big one, a large one. I have to tell you that based on the stories of the aquarium is what make them unique.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'll give you, for example, Martin. Martin's tank, the build on that tank and the story behind it was amazing.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when I presented it to Julian, Julian was like, oh my God, this is such a great story.
It's in the book as well, because I was looking at that last night. Yeah, it's incredible.
It's in the book.
It's incredible.
And it's not only incredible, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious how miscommunication gets around and how it makes things. So there's the stories, there's the individuals, there's the tanks, and they're beautiful tanks all around the world. Last night we went to see David Saxby's tank.
Yeah?
And I'll be honest with you, I was here last year, and you look at the tank this year, completely different.
Yeah?
100% different tank. So you look at a tank like David's, it's like amazing.
Yeah.
It's just mind-blowing. And then you go into the filtration room and you wonder, how does he even know what outlet is what? So yesterday I questioned him. I said, you know, hey David, what's this serial port for? He knew exactly what it was for.
Yeah.
It's not like he's telling someone, build me this and then monitor it.
No.
No, he knows every little intricate piece of what's going on in that aquarium.
Yeah.
I go to Kuwait, to the place that I thought I would never see an amazing reef tank. And there's this kid named Isa, and I went and I visited him in Kuwait. And I walked in through the door and my jaw dropped. What an amazing aquarium. And in Kuwait, I never would have expected it. So there's beautiful tanks all around the world. There's beautiful tanks in Germany, in Australia, in Japan.
Right, yeah.
Oh my God, Japan has, and some of the most cleanest, neatest looking things you've ever seen in your life. Yeah, so there are beautiful aquariums everywhere. And every one of them is special because of a reason.
Do we think he's trying to get out of this one? Favorite tank, Tony? What's your favorite tank that you've seen?
Favorite?
Come on. There's a lot of pressure because a lot of people in the room visited, right?
No. I would have to say
something that gives you that wow.
Okay.
Where you just went wow.
The one in Kuwait.
Right.
Yeah. Isa's tank in Kuwait. It's a 500.
Is there a way that we could see this? Can we make a note of what? Is this available online? Have you?
Yeah. It's actually I was supposed to drop his video this Sunday, but because I'm here, it's gonna have to wait till next Sunday.
Okay, so that's a good plug for your YouTube channel, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what's happening. Yeah. Well done. So come on, what's the real tank now? Because that was just a plug for YouTube, Tony.
No. That tank is amazing.
No, yeah.
But also, I would have to say, Mara's tank is another one that's really mind blowing, and it's because.
Has everyone seen Mara's tank?
Anyone here had seen Mara's tank?
Yeah, you've seen it
on Instagram. She hasn't been posting lately because she just gave birth to a beautiful baby.
Yep. Yeah.
So she hasn't been posting as much or avoiding it whatsoever. But
so I want to say she is the real deal, because a few people have said after to me she was like, oh, she's just another pretty blonde lady. She is because the tank has been left to a partner, Chris.
Yes.
And it's absolutely insane still, but he's like, I can't do this. I mean, Corey, you've been recently, right? Again, yeah. And Chris is, now Mara's back at it. He's a much happier man, isn't he? Because he was left. He snapped up the scape, so the big scape that she's got. He snapped that, didn't he? And
well, here's the thing about Mara is, number one, she's allergic to the tank, and she goes in it and you got to see the scars on her forearm because she's working inside with these corals. She's what I considered the gardener of reefing. So you know how there's gardeners that work on landscaping and they make these beautiful landscapes? She considers her aquarium a garden, and she won't put two of the same colored corals together, and the textures have to match where she's putting the location. Am I right, Corey?
Absolutely.
she uses a palette. She uses a color palette for where she places the corals, and she runs quite what schedule is it? It's quite a daylight schedule, is it?
Yeah.
14K is it she runs? 13K, 12K?
No, 12K.
12K.
Yeah.
And she places the corals under that light to get the colours in place with this palette, which blew me away when I first heard that.
Yeah, she is the ultimate, and she's in the tank. Now, we tell people, keep your hands out of your tank. You can't tell that to Mara. She's in that tank every single day.
It's a pipette she uses to blow detritus off the bases of the corals, and so she's got enough flow in there already. You'd think I'd be happy with that, but she goes in there, doesn't she, and blows the.
Yeah. So she's
one of them, yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely. She will definitely make an appearance in Volume 3.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And plus, what I like more about her is the fact that we have a really dynamic woman running an amazing aquarium. And I would have to say, when you see, a group of hobbyists here, and they're all men, but the women, when they get into this, you're gonna see less men little by little, because they just really take it to the next level.
Yeah,
they really do.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're very artistic.
So obviously, I'm conscious of time, guys, and we could do this all day. But I have a bit of an exercise for you guys together for this, just to wrap up this segment of the show. If that's all right, you feeling sharp?
Sure, yeah.
Not you guys, these guys. You can get involved though. But you're feeling sharp, Julian, Tony?
Yeah.
2025, yep, you're starting again. So you're starting again now. It's 2025, you've just started, you just decided to set up a reef tank. How do you create this slice of the ocean now? So we can start with the tank. What size would you go for? Filtration, lights, sea salt, whatever it is. How would you approach this?
You first.
I have to be in this position, right?
Of course, that's why you're there. Come on, Julian.
Well, let's go with Julian. We'll start with the tank size. What volume would you go for? As a nano guy, you can say a nano.
Yeah, it can be a nano. If I was doing a nano, it would probably be one with an all-in-one design. So you have your.
Oh, and you can use Julian's thing on that nano.
Yeah, right. It's interesting when you read whether it's a book or magazine articles, there's the typical recommendation to set up the aquarium and put the reverse osmosis water in there and add the salt to the aquarium and let it mix in the aquarium. I want to say I have never done that. Every aquarium I've ever set up, I've had the water mixed separately and added as salt water to the aquarium. But there's nothing wrong with doing that, but I've looked at it and thought, well, why? You're going to mix salt. Yeah, but it's often done that way, to start fresh, add the salt. And,
you know why?
No.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah, why?
Because I've set up quite a few tanks.
Yeah.
It's easier to catch a leak with fresh water
than salt.
Than it is with salt water.
Good point.
And also, once the salt gets into that creep area where the leak is, you have to clean that whole area out, because you're going to wind up with salt residue.
You see? There you get a practical answer.
So this is why you guys are doing this tank. So this tank's in front of you now, you're building it. together. So Julian's put the tank down, Tony, so
So I come in with the fresh water and then salt it.
you testing it with fresh water, that's a good point, yeah?
See that? Learn something? I will still do it my way.
He's so stubborn.
But it's a good point. So, heck, it's a nano tank after all. Anyway, but yeah, then there would be a choice of, are you going to do dry rock or live rock? And truly, it's a choice that you make. And you can always do dry rock and add some live rock to get, diversity of coralline algae and bacteria and whatnot. I'm really, really impressed with the new trend of building dry rock aquascapes using cyanoacrylate. You can make any shape you want. So you could pre-create within the space the shape. So that's what I would do.
Right.
It's so creative.
Yeah, I suppose that's the disadvantage for live rock is it's really difficult to then create those.
But it can be done.
It's possible.
It can be done. I've done it.
Yeah, we've all done it. But if I were doing it, I would do that. Now, the other thing that you would see in books and magazines is to, cycle the aquarium, whether it's adding the water and then adding some ammonia and bacteria. I have done that, but generally that's not how I do it. Since I have so many aquariums already, I always, if I was setting up a nano aquarium, it's likely that I would just do a water change. I would take some water from one of the existing aquariums. That water is already live with a lot of stuff. That would be the water I'd use to set it up. Substrate, I might take some of the live sand from an existing aquarium. So I avoid that whole process of the initial cycling. But you can set it up completely dry, sterile, add bacteria, add ammonia, or add some hardy fishes. It's all possible,
How about filtration?
Well, as I was saying, this is a nano aquarium that has an all-in-one. So in the back, it's going to have a sponge that will become the biological filter. The water goes into that chamber with a sponge. As I mentioned, the rock and the sand that are in there, that's biological filtration. So there are protein skimmers made for these smaller aquariums that could be set up later. It's not required in the first when you're setting it up. And let me see, any other filtration? There are small media reactors that you can put GFO or activated carbon. There's chambers in these all-in-one systems that you could do that. It's not critical on the instant moment you set it up, but it would be needed later.
Tony, you agreeing with all this, yeah?
I'm of the philosophy, go big or go home.
So we lost Tony at nano then, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so, you had suggested it, and I if I was setting up an aquarium now, and I actually am, I did just set up nano like that.
Yeah.
For my business partner, Daniel Ramirez, who I mentioned, he retired back at the end of 2006. And he hasn't had an aquarium since then. He used to have about 125-gallon system. And his wife suggested to me that he might be interested in having an aquarium again, and would I be interested in helping him do that? And I said, yeah, I really would like to do that. So I set up a nano system, and this was about 2 weeks ago. So it's currently,
just doing its
just
thing.
doing its thing. I'm traveling. He's also traveling right now. So I said, look, we'll get the water running and, put some live substrate and all. And then when we get back, we can decorate it.
Do you still enjoy doing that then?
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I totally love it. So it looks nice already.
Yeah.
But once we put live things in, and I've got, as anybody who's got an old system, I've got all kinds of corals, in various sumps and places in refugia that are ready to migrate to a system like that. And it'll be pretty instant. You
So
know,
you've got something to look forward to when you get back.
yeah, a lot of people starting as new hobbyists, you're likely to be purchasing little frags and doing it, which is great. It's wonderful to plant them and watch them grow. But if you have a friend who's an old-time hobbyist, the frags are not going to be so small. You're likely to get some nice big pieces. And the truth is, when you set up a new aquarium with large pieces of coral, it does stabilize rather quickly. There are things biologically that happen in a new system that are not too friendly to small frags. So having larger pieces to start with is kind of a professional tip. It'll help you be successful sooner, which is also part of the benefit of using some live rock. You know, there's some biological stability that gets in there, avoiding ugly phases and you know, competition between algae and corals. That's just a fact of life.
So just before we finish for the next part of the show, I just wanted to go to you guys. Has anyone got any questions for Tony? And obviously we've got your half of the show, which is all about your questions, but anything just to follow up with for these two? Yeah.
Just question for Tony. I was in Dubai in January, and I actually, because I was like, I'm in Dubai anyway, might as well let's see what they have. I didn't find that many shops that were there selling corals or even reefing stuff. I know like the rich have the aquariums, but what about the normal people? Is it a big thing in Dubai, or is it just the very rich that keep the aquariums?
It was hard to hear him.
So he's recently visited Dubai.
Yeah.
And wasn't many stores. So
There are a few. There are a few. You just have to seek them out. But actually, one of the biggest shops in Dubai, the owner of that shop is here. His name is Ayman, and the name of the shop is called Thinkfish. So you're going to want to speak to him because he has a huge shop, and he's going through an expansion. So he's going to be even bigger. And there's a couple of other shops that are reputable and have really nice corals. And I'll be honest with you, you're looking at the shops in Dubai are the same caliber as the shops in the US. No different. They're bringing in the same exact corals, the same exact fish, the same exact products. So when you go talk to Ayman, and he'll enlighten you about everything in Dubai.
Yeah. And we do actually have some a lastminute.com thing we prepared yesterday where we're going to, I'm not going to spoil too much, but Eamon is going to talk to us, isn't he, for a little bit about something that's very exciting that's been discovered out there as well. So we can look forward to that. Any more short questions for these guys before we move on? No? Brilliant. So that brings us to, just before we go to our break, the Lifetime Achievement Award. And this award is recognising a lifetime of innovation, inspiration and contribution to the reefing community. And there's many people in this room today that have done exactly that. And for this part, I'm going to hand over back to Paul Hughes, who is going to do it. But firstly, can we just give a round of applause to Julian and Tony?
Right, this year's Coral Freaks Lifetime Achievement Award was once again an easy choice for me. Just like last year when my own very own reefing grandfather, Lord Baron von Saxby, received it for his incredible contribution to our hobby and industry. It was very worthy last year, David. So it's no surprise that this year's person happens to be one of David's friends. Now, what does this gentleman mean to me personally and to the wider reefing world? Well, we've heard a lot of this already, but he's one of the greatest influencers our hobby's ever known, not just through innovation or products, but because he embodies the very essence of reef keeping. It's in his veins. As Tony Vargas said last year to David, this person also doesn't really do social media. So everyone knows his name, but he's not really out there, are you, Julian? Not really. You probably should be, but you're not.
Yeah, working on it.
Yeah, every single hobbyist around the world either uses something that he's developed or something that's been copied that he's done, or instantly knows his name when they hear it. But what makes him truly special? Beyond being one of the kindest and most humble men in the industry, he popularised reefing like no one else did back in the 1990s. His simple, easy to read manuals made what once seemed complicated suddenly accessible. He inspired thousands to set up their first reef tank, and in doing so built the foundation for the hobby as we know it today. For me personally, he's inspired many of the displays I've created over the years and kept me grounded in the biology of a marine aquarium and looking at the animals for what they truly are, rather than today's reefing style sometimes seems just trophy collecting. His writing reminded me through hundreds of systems built for clients, stores and homes that I've been involved in. And it's mainly about the true fundamentals, the primary production, the reef biology and the respect for the aquarium ecosystem itself. It's honestly humbling that after all those years, being a fanboy, reading his work, I would not only get to meet him, but I can call him now friend. And that's thanks to our mutual friend, Tony Vargas. So please, with huge respect and gratitude, please welcome to the stage the legend himself, Mr. Julian Sprung, and joining him to say a few words, his good friend, Tony Vargas.
Okay, last year we had David shed a few tears. I know I can't get tears out of you. However, I do have to say that Julian has been an inspiration for all of us. There's actually no words that I can say about Julian that can describe what Julian has done for all of us. He built the foundations to what we have here today. He put it on paper. He's left it for us for generations down the road to be able to read this literature and read it and say, my God, this is still viable today. And that's one of the things that I would have to say, that it's my honor. And I am so grateful that you wrote a 3-volume set, which we consider in the industry the Reefing Bible. And we appreciate everything you've done. And Julian, you deserve this. Congratulations. You're the man. Love you, man.
Love you too.
The stage is yours.
Yeah.
Few words, Julian?
What's that? Well, you can hear me okay, yes? Thank you so much, Tony, and thank you, Paul. It's a great honor to be recognized. As you know, I didn't do all of this to be recognized. I did do this to enjoy a hobby. It's rather, on the one hand, selfish because, you know, we go through this rush of excitement when we discover and appreciate a new fish or a new coral and create a new aquarium. Each aquarium is our own little work of art project and little bitty burden to maintain, right? They're all like children for us. And coming to conventions like this, it really is such a nice opportunity to share that enjoyment. I really see it in every one of you. You know, when you come to talk to me about your aquarium, you know, years ago it was with a pile of photographs, now videos on our phones. So in any case, it's, you know, I don't think of the hobby the same way as like people winning Academy Awards. You know, this seems a little bit awkward and strange, but nevertheless, this is a beautiful trophy and a great sentiment to be appreciated for sharing what I've learned with you. And at the same time, you know, if you could imagine, I learn from you, all of you, and it's great to get that feedback. So I could go on and on, but I'm not going to. Thank you.
Julian, well deserved, well deserved. So we have a quick interval coming up, right? We've grab a drink, grab a chat with some of the guys out there, but we need to be back here for 12:45 latest, where we're going to kick off with Jamie Craggs, Corey and Salem. Thank you all.
Hello, Harry here. Thank you so much for watching part 1 of the Coral Freaks event. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the event so far, and if you wanted to hear my thoughts on the event, there's a video here on my channel as well. If you're ready for the next part, I will see you in episode 2, but in the meantime, don't forget to stay mindful and keep reefing.